Hey everybody, how you doing? This is Jeeps here on the Positive Wave Rider, and I'm bringing in a friend of mine from Australia, and she's been on the journey with me with music on my Twitch channel, and she was voted in by the rest of the mods to also be a mod of the channel. A very warm, endearing heart, a great smile, wonderful stories of mosh pitting and health. This is SB. SB, say hi to everybody.
Hi, how are you all going?
Well, I thought since what I've been doing on the Positive Wave Rider list lately is I've just been bringing, friends, people that I know in for podcasting and just kind of sharing life journey, us non-famous people, instead of, podcasting, trying to find famous people, quote unquote, to, spin up what podcasting sometimes will bring in views and stuff. I really am cherishing the moment to hang out with people that I know and, dive in a little deeper with conversation. So SB and a bunch of her friends and our friends hangs out at Discord, which I'll put that link down below, by the way. And also, if you are now just beginning watching this, I also include chapters, just in case you might want to skip around and look for things here. But SB, so you're
Yes.
in Australia, correct?
Correct. The sunny land down under.
And right now you said it's springtime, right? So you're kind of relishing the moment to get out into your garden and have a wonderful time getting your hands in the dirt. Is that correct?
Correct. Nothing makes, well, there are several things that make me happy, and one of them is getting dirt under my fingernails and getting out there and making things look green. And it's just a joy to see life in all its capacities. Yeah.
That's what a great way to start this, because that's what I think, what our conversation is going to focus on here on the Positive Wave Rider too, as well. That kind of joy is stuff that I celebrate and sometimes question on my own. You guys have seen my videos pop up and I question, mortality and peace and concerns. But, you always come back at me in Discord with these wonderful couple of paragraphs, privately you kind of dial in and share some wonderful thoughts. And it kind of mirrors actually that spirit that you have to get your hands in the dirt. You're growing things, you're connected to life, you really want to be about that. On the other hand, you don't mind throwing yourself into into some of the most incredible situations, like heavy metal mosh pits at the same time. What a unique balance.
Goodness.
Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, to me, it's really the same thing. It's, it's that connection, right? So you get that connection with the music that you have one-on-one with that sort of stuff, but you also have the connection with the people around you that are also having that connection. And then you become a community, like your channels have become a community, and being able to have this type of conversation as friends with someone on the other side of the planet that has had completely different life experiences to you is just, it's all about connection. And I think everything is connected. We're all organisms of the planet, right? Yes, that's greeny and hippy dippy and, all that sort of stuff. But that's how I look at life.
Well, I think, no, go ahead. I mean, what I was going to agree with you in that sense, because I think in one of our conversations, I had mentioned something in my video and you had come back. We were talking about the vibration of life, the vibration of music, obviously. We've talked about many times music and its healing capabilities, music and its importance in folks that are losing memory as a recall mechanism to bring them to life, and people who have, challenges with their memory, or they have, dementia and stuff like that. But to me, what I love about your energy is that vibration is going from the earth to your hands, to the music, to your spirit, and the whole thing, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to bring you on, is because I've noticed a really wonderful through line of that connectivity. I know you joked about the hippy dippy thing, but before we get into some of the more metaphysical healing aspects, or just sharing our vibrational wit back and forth, tell me a little bit about yourself and your journey, as comfortable as you see fit. About where you are to your age right now, growing up, and then interweaving music through that journey, and what is SB's roots about?
Well, We've spoken before about the fact that I grown up with music, being a musician to the best of my ability, which wasn't that great in the grand scheme of musicians that there are on the planet. But my love of music has always been there in lots of different capacities. I have an eclectic taste, probably, I, growing up going to musicals, performing in things like that as a musician, and then going through different life stages and finding different styles of music that are my favorites, like heavy metal, and what that makes me feel. Music, like it's just, yeah, my life is revolved around music. I have it on pretty much all the time. It's rare that, I mean, I do have moments of quiet, but I'll be sitting there thinking, about something that's worrying or slightly stressful, or, thinking about, life things, bills, and, all the things we
Oh,
all
that
hate.
staying alive.
Yeah.
The discursive
Oh my
nature of what the
goodness.
universe is giving us right now. Yeah, I get you.
I have to eat today. Okay. That sort of stuff.
Different
Yeah.
kind of hunting and
So,
gathering.
exactly. And especially for me with my health conditions, because essentially my life revolves around that, So my physical health, it can be overwhelming because I don't ever get to take a day off of that. I don't get to
Well,
take a minute off that.
well, tell us a little bit about that if you feel comfortable. I mean, explain to us
Yeah.
what your your day-to-day challenges has been, and maybe start off when maybe you first saw it coming on or felt it coming on, if you wouldn't mind sharing that.
Um, uh, well, obviously, I have type 1 diabetes. And
Mm.
I was diagnosed at the age of 22, along with another autoimmune disorder. And it throws your life into a spin because, I mean, for me, I was extremely sick. I was about, a third less of me net from now. And I was not very well, to then feeling healthy, but then the daily challenges that come with that. So, type 1 diabetes means that my immune system attacked the insulin producing cells of my pancreas, which is what, when I eat carbohydrate, and fats and proteins, your liver turns that into glucose, and insulin acts like a key to open the cells of your body in order so that you can burn that energy off. Otherwise, it sits in your bloodstream, and that's not good because then other things don't start to work properly,
Mm.
like organs. So it is constant. So in order to do that, I have to inject insulin. So I have to inject insulin when I eat, and I have to have something going on in the background. I've recently just been extremely fortunate enough to have a lovely friend that has allowed me to borrow her old insulin pump that was actually replaced under warranty. So it's a brand new machine, but then her warranty ran out 4 days
Oh.
later. So she has private health insurance. It's different here in Australia, but she has private health insurance which covers the cost of machines like that. And so she was able to get a new pump for herself. And I don't have full functionality of it yet, in that I can't use the software because the company doesn't like to put out, make the software available because you technically haven't paid for the machine, is my assumption. But, I
Nice.
guess
The
it's
world at
also,
large.
yeah, yeah. But,
Mm. May I ask? I'm
they're
sorry. May I
usually
ask how much? I'm very ignorant of. I know what type 1 diabetes is in essence,
work.
And I actually did help some fundraising for the JDRF, Hawaii and stuff,
Yep.
but more on another kind of
Yep.
angle. So I did learn about it, on an extremely surface level. But when you're talking about the pump, what
Mm.
exactly does that do? Is it something that is it kind my daughter has stage 5 kidney failure, so unfortunately she has to do
Yeah.
dialysis, three times a week, and that's the big machine and you're sitting
Hey,
down and stuff.
cycloids. Cycloids to also type 1. Yeah,
Hey,
wow.
there you go. And
Yeah.
so, I understand the process of having to be, for my daughter, connected to, a machine to
Mm.
stay alive and stuff. So, is the
Yeah.
pump function that same way?
I can show it to you if you like.
Sure. Well, if you feel comfortable.
Yeah, doesn't worry me. So I'm going to stand up though.
Okay.
But yeah, so this is the pump itself.
Uh-huh.
It has the insulin in it, and then it in a cartridge in the back, and it pumps
Ah.
to a um, cannula, which is just under the surface of the skin. And I also have a continuous glucose monitor next to it. So that's constantly
Ah.
telling things to my to my devices to tell me what my blood sugar level is doing, so I can monitor that and also give myself extra insulin if I need it. And it tells me if my blood sugar level is dropping low, because that's a important thing to know, because otherwise your brain is the last thing that will run out of
I
of
see.
glucose. So
So it's an
everything else will
all-in-one.
shut down. Yeah. Well,
I
kind of.
see.
It's trying to be a closed loop system. Yes, that is what it's trying to do. And to be fair, it's pretty good at that. I'm still learning. It's still a new process for me. It's kind of something you do panic about, because these are life and death decisions that you make all the time. And
Mhm.
it's not just like once a day, it's all day, every day, about how much you're going to
Yeah.
eat,
Yeah.
what exercise you're going to be doing, what supplies do you have with you, what do you carry for emergency purposes, that sort of stuff. What's going to work for you? How do you communicate to somebody else that you are that you are, if you're by yourself and you're out in public somewhere and you're in trouble, how do you communicate that to someone who might not understand or get you the help that you
Mm,
need?
right.
It's a pretty full-on thing. Wouldn't wish it on anyone.
Wow,
Mm.
that definitely, as I recall, when I was helping out JDRF Hawaii, I was hearing very similar
Yeah.
stories about the day-to-day planning that has to go on,
Mm.
and also some of the
Yeah.
limitations that, whether because of the pump or certain things. For instance, I think I remember somebody talking about how they used to surf and now they couldn't surf, or didn't feel comfortable surfing because if there was some kind of medical emergency or episode out in the water,
Mm.
that it would be kind of detrimental. It would be different than, let's say, well, me, an old fart paddling out there and I had a heart attack, versus
Mm.
something that, maybe that individual would have gone through in the water. Not that he didn't do it once in a blue moon, but he had to change his exercise pattern. I think you were just talking about that on,
Yeah.
not being able to surf, but decided he would do different things that he would felt a little more comfortable doing in the water and so on and so forth. When you said, it happened like at 22 you were diagnosed with it. Was there a series of symptoms of sorts that were showing up that you started going through and you're saying, hey, mom or dad or family, I'm not feeling this, something's happening here and there's something wrong, before they start going through checking off the box? Did you go through a period of that?
Um, with hindsight, yeah. Didn't realize it at the time. I knew I wasn't well. Um, I mean, in typical B fashion, I feel that it came from a mosh pit, because a trauma, they say, it's usually a virus, as your last guest was said on your podcast about the trauma that happens to bring on these conditions. You're always going to have the genetic work there to be susceptible to things, but whether or not your body actually has that trigger event that creates that trauma. I didn't have a
Right,
virus.
right.
So for me, it had to have been physical trauma, and that would have been a mosh pit.
Well, you know
And
what? I
because I
would
know
add,
exactly which one.
yeah, that, well, if there isn't a perfect segue to kind of merge the two, because I mean, you know, primarily one of the wonderful things that we all love about
Yeah.
you in the chat and on Discord and on Twitch is it's just it's. I've always looked as an outsider at as the mosh pit as being extreme, you know, pretty violent. I don't think, even though I played hockey, I think I'd much rather play hockey than go into a mosh pit, because at least hockey, I got a helmet, I'm wearing, you know, I got kidney protection and everything, you know, where, you know, you throw yourself into it. So what I want to do with this and kind of turn this conversation slightly before we get into the mosh pit element, I want one quick question and then I'll follow up. Were you mosh pitting first before you picked up an instrument, or an instrument first and you went into mosh pit?
Instrument first.
And what was that instrument?
Flute.
I'm sorry, the what?
Flute.
Oh, the flute. Yeah, I can see how that wouldn't work good in a mosh pit. Boing. But okay, so, all right, good. I just wanted to hear what that was, because it's what, I mean, come on, if everybody's listening to this podcast, especially our friends on Twitch or Discord, that's kind of an odd, you know, in my mind, I'm thinking mosh pit and middle, you know, metal, she must have like a flying V guitar and a bass and stuff. No, she has a flute, like H.R. Puffin stuff, and that could have been where it all started. Okay, so now we'll get into the mosh pit thing. So you played flute, you started getting involved in music. That's because you love music and everything. But apparently somewhere along that journey, heavy metal and then that nature of wanting to go out into audiences and concerts and participate, it started happening. How old were you? And what was your memory of your first mosh pit?
Okay, so it would have been 1991, so I would have been, does that make me 15 then? Yes, it does. So I was 15 and I went and saw an Australian band called the Baby Animals, and I was really fortunate in that I got in with a friend whose mum worked for the venue and ticketing company back in the, you know, the 1900s, when that was all in the one place. And so we got let in before the doors opened. So my first mosh pit, I was front and center, and it was great. And that probably got me hooked, because this seemed to come quick after that too.
So, you know, that's always been a very unique thing for me to watch all the concerts that I've watched online, doing reactions and stuff, and watching, what did you call it? The Wall of Death or something?
Oh yeah.
You know,
The Wall of
and
Death.
I've always wondered, I mean, I don't mind some pain every now and then. I don't mind that thing, but that must be like the vortex of such powerful energy in a metal band and stuff, to be, you know, wound up in that tornado of heaviness and stuff. Where do you think, for those who like to participate in the mosh, such as yourself, where do you think that energy is rooted? Not only in the song and the power of the song and stuff, but what do you believe fellow moshers might be expressing in that moment? And I know that's kind of general, you know, that's kind of general. Everybody has their own reason, but, you know.
Yeah. I don't think I can really talk for anyone else in that situation, because for me, it is just about absolutely letting go, and what will be, will be. And I'm having the best time. Like, I'm giggling my face off when I'm in that. Like, I am yeah, like I'm having the best time, telling everyone around me that I love them. You know, like it is such a it's just I love having that amount of enthusiasm. I love seeing someone enjoy the same things that I do, about that triplet that's going on there, or that double kick, or that holy shit, we are bouncing around, like, you know, my heart rate's through the roof, you know, having the best time. I don't know if you saw it. I know quite a few people have seen it in the Discord, but there's an actual video of me only a couple of weeks ago getting slammed in the middle of a wall of death. because I'm an idiot.
Yeah, but it seems, but you love it. There's just something about it. Like you said, I think everything that you were just saying, I can see in your
Yeah.
face the authenticity of what that really means to you is to go out there and just have
Yeah.
that kind of a time because the energy is all consuming. I mean, yes, that was kind of an arbitrary, wide open question to ask you to as a group,
Yeah.
because everybody else has different reasons for going in there. Some people, I guess, do just want to kick shit ass and just hurt people, or maybe they want to get hurt, or many, many
There's not
different
many
reasons.
of those though. There's actually not many of those. Like in the metal community, they get taken out pretty quickly. If you've got someone in there causing trouble, someone else is going to step up and stop them from being dickheads.
Oh, so there's like a guardian, a little bit of
Yeah, of course
of a
there is.
guardianship that kind of keeps. Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, if someone is getting harassed or if someone looks like they're going to try and fight with somebody, there'll be a small group of people that will jump in and go, we don't behave like that here. You look out for each other and you have a good time. That's why we're here.
Yeah.
Nothing else is necessary. It is dude bros, yeah, the worst. It's about, because like I said, the music for most of the people that are in though, that yeah, they look violent, but somebody said before, if someone falls over, people get picked up. You've got like 15 hands coming down to pull you up out of the crowd and make sure you're okay. No one's standing on you. You know, if you want to crowd surf, you just have to tap somebody on the shoulder and go, "Hey, do you reckon you could give me a lift up?" And they'll go, "Yeah, no worries." And they'll grab a couple of people around them and up you go and through the front. And then you race around back and you're back there again. You go, "Hey man, that was awesome. Cheers." Yeah, it's just everyone is there to have a good time. So you don't really have the negativity that people assume, especially with that genre of music, you know?
So that kind of leads me into a question that has a little duality to it.
Mm.
Obviously, there's going to be some mistaken injuries, things that just happen in the pit. I'm sure you probably have had a list of things that's happened, but you did allude to the fact that perhaps your type 1 diabetes may be linked to the trauma of a mosh pit. So can you kind of turn that into a duality or an answer of like, first of all, like what kind of injuries have you had? And then can you lead me into the path where you think that that this one instance may be the one time that may have caused you some trauma that put you down that path of type 1 diabetes?
Yep. So that first one, and it's only with hindsight. I can't prove that that's what the trauma was, but I actually can't think of any other thing that my body had at the time except for that. So that's why, yeah. But it was a mosh pit, first all ages gig in the town, and security. It was a stage that was sort of about waist height, so they put up only, and rather than, it was late 90s, so barriers weren't really a thing, especially in smaller venues. So they put them trestle tables up instead. Somebody's wisdom. And
You say that snarkingly.
oh, just a stupid idea. But anyway, people pushed because they were excited and they were pushing forward. And it can, if you're at the front, it can get quite tough. You're up against that barrier. And for me, I'm not a very tall person. So if I'm up at the metal barriers, they're up chest height for me. I can put my arms over and hang over a barrier generally. So, but this one was waist height and it was a trestle table, so it wasn't very strong. And because it was an all ages gig, I remember there was a young teenage girl. So I'm what, 21 at this point. So there was a young, I would have said, she would have been probably this age I was when I started, she would have been like 14 or something stupid like that. And a matchstick in size, and the bouncers could see they weren't in front of the stage. They weren't. There was nowhere there, so no one to pull her out. So I kind of pushed as best as I took the force from behind until I did manage to get a bouncer's attention, who were over the side of the stage, and because she would have been crushed, absolutely crushed. So they came and pulled her out. And once she got pulled, I couldn't hold it back anymore because I'd been holding back off me and her. And I let go, and I got slammed into the wrestle table, which actually broke against my knees. But because it was waist height, it also broke against my
Wow.
hips. So, and I got hit from behind as well. So the trauma to my kidneys at the back, I remember my kidneys being really sore. Yeah, I had a line bruise, hip bone to hip bone, and bruises on my knees and stuff. Not, I wasn't damaged enough that I had to go to hospital or anything at that point. It was like, well, that was rough, like it was just like
In a
holy
very
shit.
stoic SB kind of way.
Yeah. And it was like, felt a bit sorry for myself for a couple of days, and then sort of got on with it. And it wasn't until obviously, like I've said, with hindsight, fast forward about 10 months down the track, and I'm 53 kilos, pretty much literal skin and bone, no
Wow.
energy, full bladder every 10 minutes, because my body was trying to get the sugar out of my body and the toxins that come along with that, as any way they can. And that's one way your body tries to filter it out through your kidneys, and therefore you go to the toilet. So yeah.
So for you that it feels like that's an indicator. I guess when you were going through what you just said in the last 20 seconds is at some point you said I got to go to the doctors or the emergency or something, and that's the beginning of tests that were being run that took you down that path in your diagnosis. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was working in hospitality, and I lived on site. So I was working in a resort, lived on site, and my boss said, B, you're not how you would normally be. Your work isn't the standard it would normally be. We think you're quite ill. We think you need to go and see a doctor. And I went, oh, all right, because I didn't see it. I knew I was tired, but I was 21 and I was working and I was partying like I do. And, just thought, all right, I'm getting older. This is what happens, getting older at 21, whatever.
I love it when my younger friends say, "Oh my God, I'm almost 25." I'm like, bruh, you have no fucking idea what's coming down the rail. Don't touch that third rail, babe. All right. So you were partying, you just didn't really see it coming on, but your bosses or people who cared about you on the peripheral edges saw a change in your work habits, as well as you said, you had lost quite a bit of weight and stuff. So I take it then you headed into clinic or hospital for tests.
Yeah. Went and saw my GP, general practitioner. They sent me for tests, and then when they got those results back, they called the hospital and got me an appointment to, normally you would see an endocrinologist, but where I was living didn't have those. So we only got them visiting once or twice a year. So I went into the next best thing, which was actually the renal unit. And they took one look at me and said, yes, we're admitting you to hospital. You're a type 1 diabetic. So
wow, that's a lot to digest right there. Sitting there thinking that maybe you're a little dehydrated or you've just been partying kind of hard. You get handed down a lifelong condition.
Yeah, that's right. And so I was in hospital for a week. So I had ketoacidosis, which is diabetic ketoacidosis is when your body can't get the energy from carbohydrate because you don't have the insulin to be able to
Mhm.
work off that energy. So your body only eats fat, which is fat from your body, which is why I lost 30 kilos. I don't know
Oh.
what that is in pounds. I'm sorry if the chat can change that. That'd be great. So I
For us
can say
poor
what it is.
Westerners.
Yeah. But yeah, so yeah, but so I got diagnosed, had to learn how to give myself injections, learn how to um, change my entire life, basically. Yeah, yeah.
So I'm
So
supposing then there was a bit of a um, shock factor involved in the fact that you've been living
mm,
your life a certain way,
yeah,
notwithstanding that injury at the mosh pit. But then your boss says, you guys, you don't look well, and then now you get
yeah,
diagnosed with something that for the rest of your life you're going to have to monitor correctly. And if you don't monitor correctly and handle it correctly, that could be kind of a mortality check in your thinking of like, oh my gosh, I've got something that I've got to tend to every day, totally different than just putting gas in my car and tying my shoes and trying to figure out how I'm gonna, let alone stay alive, you know, on this
yeah,
planet, that we do on a daily basis. That's enough struggle for more
yeah,
than enough people who are stressing and going through a lot of personal challenges. And then on top of it, there's this huge scoop of, oh, by the way, the universe is saying, you seem to be really strong and wonderful and spiritual and very positive vibey. How about this? So now you're on this
yeah.
journey. And how long did it take for you to kind of like understand, accept, take on the mission, and then kind of find yourself gliding back into a lifestyle that you were, like for instance, how long before you were back in your mosh potato pit, life? Did it take some, how long was that transition?
Um, that particular transition was probably close to, I mean, I'd go to things, but I wouldn't be in it.
Mhm.
I was one of those people standing at the back for quite some time. I really only started going back into pits um, before COVID. Just before COVID, I was starting to go to gigs because I didn't know anybody who liked the same stuff as me. So it was like
Mm.
I just went, you know what? I'm going by myself. Whatever. I'll go by myself. I don't care. I'll talk to people. I mean,
That doesn't
we know
surprise me for
me.
some reason. It just doesn't surprise me about you. You're very much a nomadic mosh potato pit person. So
Yeah, that's right. And I talk to everybody. So yeah. So I just I started going back to things. But that I mean that was a transition that was a long time coming too, because I had some really serious health things happen 15 years ago. Um and I've mentioned it before that I got really sick. I had another one of those diabetic ketoacidosis episodes and I ended up
oh
in a coma and my organ and going into organ failure. So
wow
uh, I was on dialysis for the entire time I was in the coma because my kidneys were shutting down, my lungs had already collapsed, and my heart stopped twice. So
wow.
yeah, so that part of it is sobering. And
Well, through that process though, that you just that's just mind numbing. To hear that you went through that,
yeah,
and thankfully, you're here with us today with your smile and celebrating life as you do, which is probably another reason why you probably turn it on 11. As you
yeah,
celebrate life with your music.
yeah.
But when you said you had an experience or an episode that was within the type 1 diabetes realm, was that something that happened because you forgot to do something, you let something slide, or was that an episode that came upon it unto itself while you're taking care of yourself perfectly like you normally do every day, and then this was an out there episode?
Stress. Stress and I don't get
Oh,
along. So uh, I always felt very capable of any situations or anything like that. Like you said, I'm reasonably strong-minded, no qualms about going out and, talking to people and doing what needs to be done or jumping around in a mosh pit, physical as well. It the stress of life, so the work stresses, the having to be the one that you're looking after yourself all the time, like it just intense working hours, trying to get enough to be able to pay the rent,
Sure.
as well as, look after yourself physically so that the pressures of a type 1 diabetes or a condition like this is it is lifelong, and it can also bring on other conditions that are also lifelong. So
Mm.
it's this giant umbrella of autoimmune disease hanging over your head, and the complications that can come from that. I mean, I'm so fortunate that I'm here, that I survived. It's
I
yeah,
think I think it's
and
safe to say
I,
that we're all very fortunate that you're here and you survived, you know?
yeah, but I think that's what gives me my positive outlook, because you know people talk about rock bottom, and whether or not you put yourself into a situation or it just occurs, you always get to a point where it's rock bottom, and you have choices to make.
Hmm.
And I
Hmm.
think for me, my choice is to be a good person, to be kind, to be enthusiastic, to be positive, because if you are so bunched up with the stress factors that it's causing a physical response,
Hmm.
so which we all have, but for my conditions, it's dangerous.
Right. You have the predisposition of the challenge that you do with type 1 diabetes. So that, yeah,
Well, it's not. It's not just that. So when you are in that fight or flight response, your body, your adrenal gland is pushing out hormones like cortisol to make you get up and do the things you've got to be able to do. Um, in my case, too much or cortisol in its own, um, I have that, but I have this thing that I call a as soon as my feet hit the floor when I get out of bed in the morning, my blood sugar levels rise. And that is because cortisol or adrenaline is being pushed out into my body by the other organs. And that is making my blood sugar levels rise. It's giving me the
Mm.
energy in order to go do the things that you need to do when you get out of bed in the morning. So I have to be on. And the stresses of that too can get difficult at times. So
Yeah. And then
yeah,
you
it's
also
just
had mentioned as well, is that that was also one of two things that you're challenged
mm,
with. You said you also, through the process of, it's like my daughter, when my daughter got stage 5 diabetes, she also got a death sentence, a side disease that only
yeah,
happens in 5%, which is called calciphylaxis. And when your body
yeah,
produces calcium and it actually pushes through the skin painfully. I mean, she had to sleep for almost 3 months standing up, if you could believe that. They had to build a special bed for her because of the pain, that
mm,
came from this. Now, fortunately, she came through it, but at a certain point, the calciphylaxis was taking over the stage 5 kidney failure as far as potential mortality rate, because that is such a rare, kick down of stage 5 diabetes. But she did survive it. She went through a year and a half
kidney.
of incredible
Yep.
pain and all kinds of stuff. She got to ding the bell and everything, and now she's focused back on her stage, trying to find a kidney, keeping her weight together, the
Yeah.
steroids, all the stuff that
Yep.
impacts her. So, in your case, what was the other end of the blade there that showed up for you?
It showed up at the same time as the diabetes did for me, actually. So, that week that I was in hospital after I was diagnosed, they also walked in and said, "Oh, and you also have an underactive thyroid. You'll need to take thyroxine for the rest of your life." as
Wow.
well. So, but we've also found out other things. So that's mutated and done other things as well. Not mutated, but it's done other things as well. So for first 15 years after diagnosis for that side of stuff, I was underactive. And then for some reason, my thyroid kicked in and started to produce its own. So I stopped having to take as much until I didn't have to take any hormone. And then it produced too much. So I was overactive. And that's
Wow.
another condition called Hashimoto's thyroiditis. So I can go either way. So I can swap between being overactive and standard Hashimoto's, or I can go overactive and it becomes Graves' disease. So yeah, I got that double whammy. Often you get, and a lot of type 1 diabetics, I don't know if Cycloid feels comfortable sharing what they may have also have, or if they have anything else. But you can be celiac, or you can be, my mum has lupus.
Mm.
Her brother, this is why we think as is definitely genetic. Her brother is late adult onset type 1, diabetes, or the 1.5 is what they call it, type 1.5, because he was 50 when he was diagnosed, but
Mm.
he's not type 2. So, yeah, it's just, yeah, it's you.
Well, it
That's what I
sounds
mean.
like
This autoimmune umbrella
it
is
kind of
huge.
sounds like some of it might actually, the way you've tied it in, might be something that actually has its roots in a thyroid condition. At some point,
Well, it
maybe
could
there's
be,
some kind
could
of
have been. That
combo.
that could have been the trigger. Yeah, yeah. I mean,
You
that could
know,
have been the trigger. I may have got that in the background, and then that caused the diabetes to come on. We'll never know. It's too long ago
sure,
now. They wouldn't be able
yeah,
to do enough tests to know. It's hard enough to get conclusive tests later in life as to the type of diabetic you are, like which was what happened with my uncle because, yeah. But yeah, oh, my dog is trying to get up. Hang on,
that's
sorry.
okay. Bring doggy
Yeah.
in if he can fit, or you just get him
Come
up
on.
on the lap and introduce him. We're down for
Yep.
that.
So this
Oh,
is
the
Mickey.
puppy! Look at the. And what's
Is
the
that?
pooch's name?
This is Mickey.
Mickey. So it's a boy. Okay. Hey, Mickey, you're so fine. No, wrong Mickey. Anyhow, look, guys, there's Mickey. That's the
I
love of your
know.
life and is always going to love you forever and always look at you for love. That's going to come through those eyes. That's the great
Yeah.
thing about having a dog. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
so
She's
now,
been a
oh, go ahead.
companion.
Oh, yeah, I can
Yeah.
imagine. Oh, without a doubt, I can imagine. That
Yeah.
is the most.
Yeah.
I wish I could, but my allergies are so horrible. I can't. I can't have a pet dust ball, without falling apart.
Yeah,
But
right.
so with your medical challenges that you've just shared with us, and type 1 diabetes is a daily ritual, and
Mm.
and you seem to be right now in a very stable place health wise.
Yeah.
As your journey moves forward, I want to kind of bring back a little bit into the music aspect because I know that
Mm.
you love heavy metal. Generally,
Yeah.
you have shared other styles with us and stuff like that. But I'm gonna. This is probably a really stupid question, but I think I wanted to glide into that peaceful spiritual energy that we kind of share amongst each other. Is Do you consider your dosage of music part of the healing process on a daily basis? I know you had mentioned it earlier that you'll get stressed or anxiety and then you'll listen to music, it'll bring you to a place. But do you find that to be a cohesive part of your day in keeping your dopamines and your joy and the positive vibrations through your body while you're going through your healing process with
Yeah.
your conditions?
I do because I do get such, I mean, you've seen me listen to music. I can't not move. I have
Right.
to move,
Right.
and it is it's a release of endorphins, it makes you feel good, serotonin, all that sort of stuff. It's, I mean, I know a lot of people would be, oh, but you know, I'm someone who I'm not fussed. If people don't like me, that's on them. You know,
Mm.
I'm not going to cause any harm to anybody. So if I want to go out there and make a fool of myself, dancing around because I can't stop and having a great time and smiling and laughing and singing along and doing all those sorts of crazy fun things, I'm not. That's them. That's their thing. This is my thing, and if I can get that joy every day, why wouldn't I want to?
Sure.
So I get up in the morning though, and I think my morning bubble is my peaceful time. I sit there with a cup of coffee and, I sit outside and watch the leaves move in the wind and, smell the grass being mowed or, the neighbor three doors down is mowing his lawn or yelling at his kids or, just the life going on around. Hearing the insects, the birds in the trees, it gives you peace. And then I want to get set for the day. So like health wise, I take care of that. I have a very set routine, what I do in the morning, because that comes into a bit of my mental health as well. I can
Mm.
be a little bit routine driven, but that also works for my health. If I do the same things at the same times every day, then health wise, it's good. And that includes music. And yeah, it just
Well, I
gives me
think
peace,
I
makes me
I think it's
smile.
extraordinary how you opened up this though with the fact that I don't think a lot of people and those who do and understand why they do can actually take that time. When you said you have that cup of coffee and you go outside and you watch the leaves blow in the wind, that's an extraordinary moment of peacefulness that is absolute for me as well. I even as a kid,
Yeah.
I didn't know where it came from. My mom or dad were not real super zenny type peaceful people. My mom was kind of chill without a doubt, but I've always learned to recognize the beauty of like I watching a cloud blow by while I'm having coffee, or if I'm lucky enough to be by my friend's house and I'm at the beach or something, I'm crashing at his house and stuff, and I have a cup of coffee on the beach, just listening to the ocean and being grateful, but looking at the smaller things in life. I used to play a little game with myself while I was driving. As a matter of fact, I still do. I'll be driving. And I'm just kind of looking out there trying to be peaceful at the moment. And I'll look at a tree at a distance and I'll say to myself as a game, I wonder if any other human being has taken the moment to look at that branch for this last 5 seconds and look at how many leaves are on it. Like find those moments of peaceful isolation that you can connect with something like that. And I think those really super short recharge moments of being peaceful are paramount. It might sound pretty woo-woo to a lot of people, you know, to have that kind of opportunity or to recognize it. Because there's times I think people may actually practice that and not know that they're practicing it, and they just kind of maybe
Yeah.
slough it off a little bit of like, they notice the cloud and stuff like that. But I think those are pertinent recharge moments, for a second that you
Mm.
connect with something in that capacity. And the fact that you mentioned the cup of coffee, because you know about me and my cup of coffee, of which I don't, because now it's
Yeah.
six
Same.
o'clock at night. I'm not going to drink any coffee. Otherwise, I'll be like,
Same.
you get a teepee for my
Same.
bunghole.
I'm on other things. It's
so,
not.
so, so
Yeah.
that being said, though, when you supercharge yourself in the morning with the peacefulness, which is kind of an oxymoron in that statement.
Yes.
Excuse me. When is it that you put the needle on your first piece of music on the playlist? Is this something that you also as part of your day, or do you have to kind of
Yeah.
marinate into it?
No, a lot of my social media is following musicians, to be honest. So I know when stuff's coming out or they've done an interview or something, and I'll go and have a look at a few different, Instagram pages or whatever and see what they've looked at overnight or if
Mm.
there's any news. Like I used to be one of those people back in the day where zines were a thing, and I love music zines. They were just the best, and I miss that. But you get it in different ways. It's just different formats now. So I'll go and read, say, Wall of Sound, or there's a couple of music journalists online that I'll go and follow and see what they're talking about. Or, I mean, in the day, you know, self-marketing that has to happen, unfortunately, are the musicians themselves. And then I'll go and look at things, and they're championing each other as well. So there's always going to be music, or so-and-so's released that song. That's right. I'll go and listen to it now, and I'll put my earballs in, much to 1AM's disgust. But that's what I call them. But they there is a photo up in the Discord too. They do look that way inclined, so that's hence they're called earballs. But yeah, they go in, or I'll have my Bose speaker next to me, either because I don't always want to put something on my ears. I have different ways. So I'll have like my earballs, I'll have these, I'll have my speaker, or just sometimes my phone too, or I'm in the car, or just somewhere around my sound system. Like there's always something on, or accessible, or my computer. That's the other thing. So depending on what I need to do for the day is what. But yeah, I'll play a couple of songs, put on something that will get me like, yes, I'm into this. Let's go do the things. I have that peaceful moment out in the morning. But because of the music I listen to, I'm not going to have it full blast for everyone to hear, because I'm kind, not everybody
You're such a
likes the type of
considerate
music that I
metalhead.
like.
Yes, you're a considerate metalhead.
So I'm quite happy to put the headphones on and go do what I need to do. Or, I'll blast it for maybe a couple. My elderly parents also live upstairs. So I don't want to, deafen them any more than they already are.
I was gonna for a second in my brain, I was going, joke or no joke, joke or no joke. No, she comes to the win. All right. Good for you. Thank you. It's all on her. If I get canceled, it wasn't me. She said it. Okay.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. But yes, it's you can't, it's such a personal thing, music. And finding a community that just loves music in general, like the one that you have surrounding you, is brilliant. We're all very different personalities. We're all different ages. We're all different generations too. There's generational divides that changes how everybody sees the world. But again, it comes back to that. I get started in the day with my music. It makes me happy. It's great for my mental health and my physical health, because I get exercise, because I get a spring in my step, and I'll go and do the gardening, or I'll go for a walk and I've got music in my ears. Or, even when I go to the shopping centre, I will park my car a long way away, and I will walk all through, and I'll have headphones on. So it doesn't, matter. I've got that music. It's making me walk those extra distances. It's making me fitter for someone who's, I turn 50 next year, and I'm pretty fit for a nearly 50-year-old. And yeah, I think, especially with my physical health, that's an important thing going forward as well. So, it helps me. Yeah, it just helps on so many different levels. I think it helps my brain. I think it helps my body. I think it, the functions of things working good,
Well, do you find it so this is like a form of music therapy for you as well? I mean, I bring it up in that subject matter because music therapy, I think sometimes, when that was first coming out, I was a little sus about music therapy. Is somebody trying to, get into a business model and stuff? But I do understand the total power of what music therapy can be on a real level of, getting people motivated or calming people down, or use like they use in dementia now and stuff like that. So this is like I loved how you said it earlier, that it was important for your emotional, mental, and physical health, that it's kind of like your sonic divining rod, if you would, that you get to keep swinging around and listening to, but it keeps you energized and charged, and it's the right kind of energy that's running through you during this course of your life. You just mentioned you're going to be almost 50, which you don't look at least from this distance. I don't know. You're in Australia. I'm in Hawaii, so no, I'm sorry. Okay. Here comes all the bad emojis now on the chat. But
I
I
often get
do.
told I don't look 50.
But I mean, I do, like, for instance, like as now hearing your story, you moving into being a little older, obviously physically a little more sensitive than most people based on everything that you're having to work through on a daily basis and stuff. Have you kind of changed gears a little bit? Like, let's say with throwing yourself into a mosh pit per se, not saying not going to concerts, staying out till all hours of the night, and whatever libations or things that you take on a fun party kind of level. Do you find yourself kind of maybe pulling back a little bit on the mosh pit, or are you still just like you were 10 years, 20 years ago and so on, and you're still, putting the blinders on, you're going in?
I'm probably more ridiculous than I've ever been.
Throwing more caution in the wind, just going at it.
Yeah. Yeah. You're not guaranteed a tomorrow. So if you want to jump up on somebody's shoulders and go crowd surfing, do it. If you want to run around in the center of when they've opened up the pit to do a wall of death, and you're standing there in the center waiting for the breakdown to come and people slam into you, then do it. I lost my shoe in that, by the way. It was great. And then afterwards, some guy brought it back to me. It was fabulous.
Oh, you're kidding me. Did the princess slipper thing for you. Here you go, dear, princess slipper.
It's just yours. Had a great conversation with that guy and his partner, and it was like, oh, thanks, have a great night. It's again, it comes back to the joy. And it's not, even if it's for 5 seconds, you don't know what being kind and joyful can do for other people. And I think it comes back to that sense of community. Like, I might walk around with my headphones on, but I can still hear people, and I can still turn it down and have a conversation. I can still, go and get the bread, and the old lady wants to grab the one from the top when she can't reach. I can still turn my headphones down and tell her to have a lovely day, and does she need help with anything else? It's just about, I think my health, and along with music, that has helped me with so much, because it helps with confidence. Just honestly, I think it's one of the greatest types of energy giver. Even if you don't go and jump in a mosh pit, if you can tap a finger, if you can nod your head, if you can, not everyone's going to have the amount of energy that I have, which
seems to be, I mean, I love the fact that that one statement that made earlier about joy, and how that makes other people feel as well. That's, I think that's another wonderful thing that myself and the folks in the chat and Discord see in you and who you are as a person, and that's an organic thing too. I think in of itself, that's just a wonderful part of your personality that I just find just tremendous. And alongside that, I have also found that heavy metal has this kind of, for the outsider, heavy metal has this kind of gruff, everyone's in black shirts and black pants, and they look like they were shot by, a pellet gun because of all the, silverware they have and tattoos and stuff. And come to find out that I have found that the heavy metal crew is probably some of the most kindest people as well. Outside of maybe how they may present themselves in public, looking kind of dark and heavy, which is a representation of their soundtrack of life. I've met some incredibly kind and wonderful heavy metal people, but that center of your, being joyful and recognizing what that does for free to other people is just wonderful. I think that's such a, I just took a deep breath after I said that, not because I needed oxygen and I talked too much, but because it just felt like just such a, something I had recognized, you know, as we're kind of going into that direction in the podcast. You know, you and I going back and forth in some of our statements on Discord, excuse me, and how I've read your responses to me a couple of times and go, you know, that's just badass. What you know, some of the things we've talked about, but myself, I try to do that every day. Every day I struggle. My personal struggle with joy and happiness is the fact that, and I know that might sound odd, you're not supposed to struggle with joy and happiness, but I can naturally be whoever it is that I'm being, where people enjoy hanging out with me, you know, the gang on Twitch, or listen to me, or when I do the, you know, the kids, the work for the kids and stuff. There's nothing more addictive to me to be able to have the ability to dole that out to people, get the laughs, get the smiles and stuff. But then there's that part of me that I recoil, you know, into kind of heavier places in my life. After I do all that sort of stuff, I kind of go and I recoil, and then I'm consumed with, you know, darker energy. I'm not talking about murderous gray matter on the wall energy, but, you know, I mean, wanting to hurt other people or myself. But it's something that I have a tremendous kind of yo-yo with, you know. It's having to get into this side and this side. But the beauty of it, the yo-yo, if I use that as the metaphor, the string is my kind of tether to me, kind of knowing that that's just a process in who I am as a human. And that string is really strong. And if I'm going to yo-yo between, you know, the heavier parts of certain times of the day and then excel outward with, you know, joy, I think part of the dose that I get if I'm in a heavier place is seeing the smile or the joy from the people that I, you know, am engaging with, is like the medicine for me as well.
Yeah.
You know, it's that kind of thing.
I know I come across as always this smiley, positive person, and I am a majority of the time. But there are times when I'm not. And like when the anxiety is, I classify my anxiety as like a separate entity, a quado, if you will.
Quado for the win, everybody. Quado, yeehaw.
Yeah. So it can take a hold. It can take an ugly hold. And I think that's where I get the catharsis from the heavy music, you know, and being able to go and throw myself around a mosh pit. I am getting rid of that, just letting it be bashed off me by other people's, you know, and then that music filling the space with the joy. You know, that's what I think that does for me, because anxiety for me, after I consider my anxiety that it was medically induced. So I'm diagnosed generalized anxiety disorder, and really it came from the mental trauma that comes from knowing that you survived. Survivor's guilt is one thing, but also the fact that you did actually die and they were able to bring you back is pretty hectic thing to deal with, especially when you're the one going through it. Like, it's tough for everybody around you, but yeah. So I think for me, heavy music, or music in general, really, not just heavy music, but the catharsis of what heavy music does to me, especially when I'm able to jump around in a pit, you know, and get rid of that, and acknowledge the anxiety for what it is. I can then, once that sort of happened, I can then speak about it, and I have amazing friends that I can do that with, you know, people who I consider my family, and my partner as well. I'm, you know, when you asked me to do this podcast and asked if I'd be willing to share, I am an open book. You know, I have absolutely no qualms about talking about anything, because that's the human experience, right? You know, and you don't know what can help other people in that process. So if you can share your journey, whether the good and the bad, like, then I think that's helpful for not only yourself, but for people around you. And like I said, it's not any one thing. Yes, music is fabulous and I love it for many reasons, but, it's also tied in with my anxiety, which is then realistically just my life, my experience, what makes B, and same goes for you, or same goes for Rotten, or Cyclone, who's also got these health issues going on, or the health issues of parents, or
Mm.
the things that are just going on around us. It's not always just the insular person. And the old adage of it takes a village to raise a child, I
Mm.
think, and I mean, I know this is very amusing coming from childless woman, but I um, I think that's what makes community so important, because it takes a family. Does not the ones that you are born into, but the family of your neighbours, or my neighbour became my bro, and that adds to the positivity, that creating that community, which comes from me doing all the things that I do with music and dealing with, it's all connected. When I sit outside in the garden and I'm getting the dirt under my nails and I'm watching the wind in the leaves, and it's all connected. We're all connected. The organisms, the hippy dippies coming out of me, I know, but it takes a
Yeah, let
village,
it run.
like it is. B philosophy, here we go.
Yeah,
101.
please. That's what we're here for. You know?
But yeah, it is, everything is connected. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
So
there's total truth to that. I think, if I can kind of coattail on your hippy dippy moment here, I think along somewhere along the lines, each one of us know that there's some kind of unique connectivity in a through and through. Whether or not we have the moment in time in our life during a certain time, or a moment in our life, some people will never ever be able to define it as such, as having that constant understanding that we're all kind of vibed into one thing without getting too hippy dippy, as you say. At the end of the
yeah.
day, we all just search for this peacefulness. Remember that video I put out earlier on the Positive
Yeah.
Wave Rider, where I was saying, I think my happiness has run its course. I'm in search of peace, And
Yeah.
it's funny because somewhere earlier that you said a few minutes ago, you had mentioned about the discursive energy that could potentially be around you, things that are happening around you that's affecting your anxiety. It could be localized, like within the house or within the neighborhood or within a circle of friends, or it could be, what's gripping, the planet right now, not the specific conversations of anxieties that are blowing up around the world. It's the access to it. It's the internet. It's the fact that all of our opinions now have come into play that have kind of reshaped and re-guided what I would call the spiritual propaganda, for a better
Mm-hmm.
way to kind of put it, without like egging one specific movement of energy in the planet right now that may have to do with religion, politics, save the world, save the birds, and all that sort of stuff. That what has given me the opportunity to share music and enjoy Twitch and stuff, and this community that we're all about. In of itself, on a global level, it is such a discursive and disruptive nature, because there's that energy that cycles around that is so dark and so heavy, that we are involved in that communication. Sometimes it sponges and just kind of, it grabs a hold of us, and we kind of feel like we have to run and escape from that kind of energy and stuff, where you have to turn everything off and really dial back down into putting your hands in the dirt and
Yeah.
listening to your music, and detaching yourself from society and getting back into a smaller conversation of, wanting to just be close in with your circle and your people, and reconnect to yourself on a smaller level.
It's not just that too. I think it's everyone wants to talk opinions, but they don't want to listen.
Mm.
So I like to listen a lot. And I do that by giving myself that peace in order to do opinions that I don't necessarily agree with, but I'll listen to them. And I'm happy to have conversations about that sort of thing. But I don't let it be my persona either, because my persona is joy and music,
That's so
and
wonderful to
that's
hear.
what
I just got the biggest smile on my face when you said that.
yeah, because that is my persona. That's how people see me, and I love that people see me that way. Even though I know I'm not always that way, I try to be that way. So if that's how people see me, I love that. I think that's the best thing. And I just love talking and listening. And I mean, yes, I talk a lot. I know that. I'm well aware of how chatty I can be. But I'm also a really good listener. And I will sit there and I don't offer opinions on everything that I'm told. If someone asks my opinion, I'm happy to give it, but I'm happy to listen and give leading questions as so that that person, if they have something that they need to talk about, then they can work through that. And I'm just the sounding board, and I'm happy to be that for people. And I'm there with a hug and a coffee or a beer or do you need a distraction? I've heard this really sick song the other day, just, doing that sort of stuff. I think, is it a philosophy? I don't know. I just think it's the way that I've chosen to live my life because of the life experiences I've had with music, with my health, with my mental health, and the world at large. Yeah,
Yeah. Well,
I
I
don't
don't know
know.
if you noticed, did you notice Amon's post where he's called it philosophy?
Yeah, I did see that. I did.
That's
I did.
so cool. Amon's a little, you know what? He's a little wizard of wordsmithing. He posts some wonderful things sometimes. As a matter of fact, I saved when I was once trying to figure out, well, God, I should do a book. What should I call the book? And he gave me his opinion. I saved it. I've got it stashed. It's something along the lines of, how to put yourself on cruise through life or something like that. So philosophy. I love that. That is your philosophy. Well, so before we kind of fade out of our conversation here, to continue on your philosophy on life and stuff like that, when I did bring up the difference between happiness and peacefulness, you kind of said a few things on Discord that were really lovely and stuff. Could you? It's not like I want you to read, to remember what you put down there, but I loved your differentiating comment about the happiness versus peacefulness and kind of your view on it. Can you kind of elaborate on that a little bit?
I can't really remember what I said, but I think peacefulness is just acknowledgement of whether or not you're having a bad day. Acknowledge the fact that you're having a bad day and get on with it. Pick yourself up, and you're allowed to have your moments. No one is begrudging anybody those bad moments, but the peacefulness comes from being able to acknowledge that and then finding your happiness, finding that thing that works for you. What works for me isn't going to work for everybody else. I mean, we've spoken before about, I get it from two different places. I get it from the calm and the earthy, hippy dippy side of the garden to throwing myself around in a mosh pit at the same time, those two different things that contradict each other. It's, if you want to talk, Eastern philosophy, the old yin and yang, that's, I mean, the difference for me, I think, is more that I don't consider myself a spiritual person. It's not my thing. I just think there's good and bad in everything. So it's learning to find that balance, and being peaceful and happy is on the good side of balance, and being able to get that out of every day, I think is, yeah, Yeah, that's the important bit.
Yeah, and it's an ever evolving process as well as what I found out. You know, going into my
Yeah,
officially going into my sunset years, as I like to call it.
yeah,
You know, it is there's an evolution of that. You know, and I think that's where I came up with that thought of like, you know, I've spent my life enjoying the process of being happy. Happy
mm,
for me also is I make myself laugh a lot of times. I'm laughing at myself in my own place without anybody around to entertain, but I think of, you know, funny, quirky things, or I'll look at things and I'll literally, for real, LOL, you know, laugh out
same.
loud because
Mm,
I find the humor in things and stuff like that.
mm,
But now since I've kind of, you know, taken the train off of those tracks and now I want to put them on the peaceful tracks, they're a little more,
mm.
they're not so elevated. I found that sometimes working to be happiness was working to be happy. Like, you know, let me go through a checkbox to get me from a place where I could be, you know, where I'm not so happy and I'm anxiety or something. And okay, let me think, let me go through. Now I just want to be able to just put the train on the tracks, my emotional train on the tracks of just peacefulness and just wake up and just be able to go, yeah. And I think I'm finally gliding into that because now everything I've accepted, and like you said earlier, which is you just never know what's going to come around the corner. You never know, you know, when that last breath or that last moment come, or the big change in the direction of the train tracks that you put your train on might all of a sudden go,
Yeah,
woof, you know, and then you derail, or maybe you by accident touch the third rail, you know, and it's all over or something. So I think for me, when I wake up in the morning for myself with my peacefulness, is
yeah,
knowing in hindsight, I now look at it as like going, oh my God, I'm 64. I made it to 64. I'm healthy as I can be, you know, considering some challenges. I've had friends already pass away, many friends, you know, from illnesses or accidents and stuff. And of course, they don't know it. They're peaceful. They're at peace within themselves. They're not in any pain. But yet, when you look at the scope of life and as we go through it, you know,
mm,
and me being on this peaceful track is also helping me deal a little bit with like what does getting older look like, you
yeah,
know, which
yep,
was something I had said earlier for myself. What does getting older look like? What,
mm,
you know,
yeah,
when I watch my parents, they're, you know, 86 and 87, and you know,
yep,
my father, he passed away of a stroke and he had dementia before he did it, and that was 80. So if I look at the scope of things,
mm,
that's only 16 years away from me. So I try to use peacefulness as not to allow myself to take that mind travel of concern and then throw that off of me being present right now and peaceful, you know. And I
yeah,
think I think you actually said something a little bit like that in one of your comments on Discord, and that was like,
yeah,
yeah. I felt like I felt like I was confirmed because sometimes we go
yeah,
through a lot of things in life and we're figuring out our own ways, and then somewhere, whether it's in a book or in a song or in a happenstance crossing with a friend, there's a confirmation moment that might happen in a lyric or in a moment that doesn't make you
yeah.
feel like you're crazy for thinking about it this way or something. You go, oh, okay, fine. Other people are going through it. So, you know, that's
Even if it
kind of
brings on that Frisian, is it Frisian or Frisian response where you
Phrygian.
Phrygian, no,
Yes.
not Phrygian, but it gets the chicken skin that you call it,
Oh,
the
yes, right,
goosebumps
exactly.
from
Right.
music. It doesn't need to be a lyric; it could just be the sound. And I think um, I connect a lot with just a lot of the sounds. Like, yeah, lyrics are cool. I like lyrics. I like
Hmm.
vocalists. I like what they can do with their instruments. But I'm bass, drums, love that shit. You know, that's the stuff that gets me. That's the stuff that hooks me in, and then I'll pay attention to the rest later. So having that side that helps you find the thing that keeps you going, that is the joy, as we've spoken about, but also the encouragement to have that peacefulness so that you can. I think for me it is I've faced my mortality. I've already done that. So it's different for me than what it is for you. And for me,
Mm,
being able to
yeah.
find the joy in that say in those similar things, then I think that's where the connection comes in for people.
Yeah, that's very profound. To circle back, to circle back to the fact that you have already been to the gates and back, and you have a completely different appreciation, if I may say, for, everything that you've gone through that, I don't have any experience with. And that to me is sometimes one of the other things where I almost want to kick myself in the head when I was going, like, sometimes I will feel personally like, whatever it is that I choose that I feel like I want to complain about, and even though complaining is kind of a low level emotional response to just feeling uncomfortable, I think of my daughter. I think of the people in my life that have challenges in their life, people in my life that have passed away from challenges. I'm saying, and I'm worried about this. I mean, there's, I have my friends that say, well, now you've got to understand your thing is your thing too. And to compare things can be, it's human, it's real. But the truth be told is that your journey you're sharing with us here and the enlightenment in which you're sharing with us through your journey is what is at this moment giving me a wonderful lift of joy and motivation and the humbleness of, if I may say, to have this time with you and talk to you about this and have you open up and share with me, with us, your journey. Of course, in another podcast, we should probably and eventually, how far away are we from your Redeem? You think?
Mine again.
Yeah.
Mine again. Oh gosh, I don't know. I think I'm probably only 110 away.
Okay, yeah, that's so we're still kind
Redeem.
of for another Redeem. But you do share with us quite a bit of your playlist on Twitch, the cheesy wheelie that we do occasionally. It lands on you and stuff like that. I love the profound heaviness of the music that you enjoy. But before we're done, I want to go to just real quick flash questions for you. Just have a little fun on the way out. Ready?
Ready. Yep.
Favorite food?
Ooh. Fresh fruit.
Wow, fresh fruit. In my mind, all of a sudden, I went to Meat Lover's Pizza. Okay, for me. Favorite ice cream?
Don't have one.
Don't have one. Favorite day of the week?
Fridays. Today.
Today, yay, gotta love Fridays. And favorite time of the day?
Ooh. It's a mix-up between the time of the day when maybe I've had a couple of beverages and I'm moshing around my kitchen, which tends to happen at about 11 p.m. maybe, or my morning bubble. So, when the routine has happened and I'm sitting there and I'm enjoying the world. Yeah.
And finally, right now, this very moment, from your soundtrack of life, your favorite band and track?
That's really hard.
I knew that would stump you.
Toss up between I Prevail's new album, which I put a song in the Discord today, actually, in the music recommendations. It's just brutal as, and I love it. Or it's Malevolence, or it's Inertia. They're kind of the ones that are in my ears a lot at the moment. Salt the Wound is a great song from Malevolence, and Inertia, Dominion, because that was the Wall of Death that I was in a couple of weeks back that I got slammed.
Okay, and what's your next show coming up? Last question. What's your next show coming up?
Relica in 2 weeks. So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I love that. I think that's what we all love about you, especially when you chime in on the chat and you're saying you're mosh pitting in your chair when we're listening to music.
I do too.
We all can imagine that now. So listen, thank you so much for hanging out with us or with me on the podcast, sharing, this personal journey with us on the podcast and stuff. Your energy, your story, and everything very much matches where the direction of Positive Wave Riders kind of gliding into. And I can't thank you enough for joining us today. I think everybody who's left here in the chat, of which if you're watching this on YouTube, you don't see the chat because it's off to the side here, can agree and say we just love your presence, both as a mod and just mosh pitting in your chair.
Thanks. Dear, I'm sorry, I haven't paid much attention to the chat today, actually. I do apologize. I've been a bit chatty. Surprise.
No, not a surprise. I just want to, once again, just thank you so much. You're so joyful and you have a brilliant smile about you that we can hear without even having to see. And that's, and also another wonderful, measure of who you are, with the output of joy and love and music and living life, the fullest every day. So I just wanted to lay that out for you as well. So thank you so much for joining us. You can say aloha to the chat before we sign off.
Rock on.
I do like this, she go like this. We meet halfway. We get this, we get this. All right, everybody on the chat as well, thank you so much for hanging out. I'm going to sign us off here from the stream. Super big mahalo for hanging out here on the stream. Tomorrow I'll be back in with donos and cheese and stuff, so I'll be back in and we'll be spinning it off. So you guys take care of yourself in the chat. SB, hang out with me. I'm going to end the stream in just a second. How many of you guys think I have my finger on the right button? Let me see. Okay, yeah, see if anybody there's giving me a rash. Nobody is. Good. All right, guys, big fat aloha to you. All right, we'll see y'all later.